Hey guys, it's Gretchen and welcome back to my channel. Fingers crossed that today is going to be an ear stretching day. It is time to go to a 6 gauge. Currently I am at an 8 gauge. I've heard that going to a 6 gauge is one of the worst stretches, so I'm a little anxious about this to see how it goes. I'm hoping that because I've had my lobes, like my first lobes, pierced for quite a while, that it won't be that awful. But I do have good old taper and tunnels here. You all know the spiel. I have my stretch up salve to help loosen things up. Here's the 6 gauge taper. It's definitely getting up there in size. There's a huge difference between like down here and up here. And then the good old tunnels, they still look small, you know, compared to other sizes. So I guess I will go ahead and take out my current ones, which are my 8 gauge. Usually I get some glass plugs, but I haven't gotten them for 6 gauge just because I don't know how well this is gonna go. Once again, I have forgotten which lobe is the bad one. I wanna say it's the right one. Can't remember. Zoom you in a little bit just so you can see what it looks like without the jewelry in it. Not bad, no, not too bad. By the way, if you notice the bruise on my forehead, just ignore it. Can this cover it? Kinda? No, I just look seen. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, take my stretch up salve, put it on my lobe. I have found that putting it on both the lobe and the jewelry sometimes is too much and then you can't get the jewelry in. So I'm gonna try at first just putting it on my lobe, just massaging it in. And now I'm going to go ahead and lube up my taper. Why does it smell like olive oil? Literally the stretch up salve kind of smells like Olive Garden. It is all lubed up. My fingers are all lubed up. This is gross. So I guess we'll just go ahead and start. There's the taper. It has gone through. A little bit of pinching. As you can see, my ear is a little bit red. Not bad though, but there definitely was a pinch to it, which I kind of expected. So now let's see. I am using a tunnel, so I'm hoping that it can feed through just fine. This would be a good time to have 2 tapers because then you could do them both at the same time and just let them sit for a bit. So I think that's an issue too, is just sometimes it's good to let the ear sit with it in there. I mean, you don't want to wear a taper as your jewelry. I see that often and I'm just like, do you know how bad that is for your ear? This is where I'm thinking that maybe everything is too lubed up. Has anyone ever had that problem? Like, you put the taper through, the taper is just fine, and then when you go to put the tunnel in, it's like, nope. The taper is in just fine, but when I try and feed the tunnel through, oh, it went. Okay, just take some coaxing. It's a little stinging right now, but I expected that. Oh, you know, most people say that the 8 to 6 is a doozy. I will say that it was more difficult than any of the other ones. So there's the 6. It's definitely starting to get noticeable now. Like before it wasn't too noticeable, like the change, but I'm definitely starting to see a noticeable difference now. So we will now move on to, well, that bump on my forehead. It's not even a bump, it's just a bruise, but it's noticeable. But we will go ahead and move on now to the left ear. I'm gonna lube it up just a little bit more, just in case. Also, clean and lube off the taper again, even though it's still my ear. We'll see how this one goes. I don't know why, but this hole looks like it's smaller than the other one did. I'm gonna let this one sit for a bit. Again, like I said, some people have suggested that before, to just kind of let it sit in there and let it get itself all situated out. So I'll be back, I hope, because otherwise that'd be really weird to have one done and not the other. So I'll be back shortly.
A few moments later.
All right, so I did get the taper all the way to like its end, but I think again I'm gonna let it sit here for a minute just because it's kind of stinging right now, and so I don't want to try to shove the tunnel in when I just got it here, because otherwise we might be here for a long time. So I'll be back in another few minutes, or just a few seconds for y'all, but a few minutes for me.
1 hour later.
All right, so it's been a couple of minutes. It's still a little stingy feeling, but I'm gonna go ahead and lube up the tunnel a smidge just to kind of possibly help it go through. Again, I'm going to attempt to feed it, but it's been having some difficulty. It's like right there, I can feel it. See why people say that this stretch is a bad one. It's not necessarily the pain as it is just being a pain in the butt. Like, you can see it on the other side. It just won't continue. Get a little bit more lube. Alright, so obviously I didn't leave it long enough, so I'm going to leave it for a little bit longer and hopefully come back to it, because taper's fine, but it's just the tunnel right now, so be back.
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new one.
Alright, I'm back to try again. It's going slowly but surely. There we go. Whew. That was like some weird relief thing that happened. You know when you're like pressing on something and it's like right there and all of a sudden it just pops through and you just feel like a sense of relief? That's just what happened. Okay, so that one is in. I can definitely see why, trying to get the O-ring on it now. I can definitely see why everyone warns about that being a bitch to stretch. It was not like excruciating pain, but it was just a troublesome one, if that makes any kind of sense. Like, it took a lot more to get it to that point than it did for any of the other levels, stretches, however you want to refer to it. But yeah, it wasn't excruciating. It does sting a little bit right now. You know, it tends to sting anytime you're stretching it like that, but this one stings a little bit more than normal. But it's not horrible. Like, I'm not gonna just keel over right now because it's so bad. It's just, it's a little stinging. It's a little hurty. It's a little hurty, but I kind of expected that. But yeah, 6s are in now. Hallelujah. I think I might leave them alone for a while now, but I do like it. It's definitely becoming a noticeable change. All right, I'm zooming y'all out. All right, so the 6 gauge stretch has taken place. Like I said, there was definitely some resistance. This one wasn't quite as bad as this one. Maybe my ears alternate on which one's the bad one. I don't know. I mean, they both took a little bit of effort to get them all the way through. It was very weird. Like, yes, there was resistance with the taper, but then it just went fine. But then it was getting the tunnel through, like feeding it through with the tunnel and the taper, getting them together, getting them to mesh, getting them to just go through. Don't know what this was. So yeah, if you are stretching to a 6 gauge, take a little bit of effort. I won't say force, they just take effort. You gotta work with them a bit. I mean, I literally sat with the taper in this one for a good 45 minutes. And even then, it still kind of had a hard time going up. And I'm sure it's gonna be red and a little bit of hurty the rest of the day, but we did it. And nothing bad happened, so that's good. But that is it for this ear stretching video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big ol' thumbs up. Go on down there and hit that subscribe button wherever it may be, because I don't know. Even though I do, this is just my shtick now. Also hit that notification bell in case you want to know when I upload, and in case YouTube wants to let you know when I upload, because I would really appreciate it. And until next time, bye guys.